You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, what happened to the heat? I dig it being hot and humid. I don't like this. I think this stinks. Somebody just said, honestly, on my way up here, I love this weather. I think this weather sucks. This is not the end of July weather. It's not supposed to be like this. Hot and humid should be the rule, but it's hovering around 69, maybe 70 degrees on this afternoon as the Canadian cold front swoops in, and we get a little bit of Canadian wildfire smoke coming down here as well. So we got that going for us. And then a weekend that does look outstanding, by the way. The first night practice later on tonight, and we are here for it. Dev's the on-site engineer. Jimmy's the rooster. Seriously, Jimmy is the rooster. I'm JMV. Thank you for joining us. A busy show on tap for you. Mike Chappell, per usual, coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. DeForest Buckner is going to mosey on over here coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, and we'll talk about a little defense and the defensive change and Lou Anarumo, and as we reference all the time, Stefakit. We've got that. Pat Boylan after last night, the fever over the Mercury. We'll talk about that with Pat and Kevin Lee of Fox regarding Fox and Penske at IndyCar coming up in just a minute as well. Actually, 3:30 for Kev. But I want to bring on board, he just hosted the last 3 hours. He's going to hang in studio. He was with a little, not Canadian smoke, but Columbus/Rushville smoke in studio, and talked to David Faraday, one of those guys that I really, truly enjoy from the past regarding the LIV Golf Tournament and all that. And Jake Query can also explain what the hell is going on between Penske and Fox. And you get some, Jake, that suggests this is a good thing. Others suggest it's a bad thing. What the hell is it? Good or bad?
It's a good question. I think probably, John, I don't know that any of us know exactly how it's going to look, but I would say probably good, and the reason being, IndyCar is a series that clearly has been, it's a niche sport. I don't think anybody denies that. And the question every couple of years has always been, what's going to happen with the television partner? What's going to happen with the television partner? Well, the television partner now is, has a 33% ownership stake. So that means that from a broadcast standpoint, you have a home. There's no doubt about that. And then one would assume that one of the largest media companies in the world is going to now promote it because they have an invested interest in doing exactly that. Assuming that this purchase is for that reason, for their own gain, which I don't know why it wouldn't, then I think it's a good thing. I think ultimately what you'll see, and I mentioned this earlier, in simple form, the Penske Entertainment Group basically owns 3 companies. They own the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they own the IndyCar Series, and they own IMS Productions, which is a television production company, a studio house. And all of those things now, Fox will have an ownership stake in. So I would imagine that they will utilize the production side of that to say, look, you guys already have your own equipment, you have your own people, you have your own editing. We are eventually going to start moving things over to our isolated app, not unlike Paramount, not unlike Peacock, etc. And we want programming centered around the IndyCar series to put on there, not just practice and qualifying, but lifestyle shows or background shows. I would assume, I don't know, but I would assume that has to be part of the vision for it as well. So I think in terms of the overall promotion and growth, you would think that it's positive.
So we're going to get like Simon Cowell and show like some maybe some reality shows based. I get.
Look,
I don't care what it is, whatever it is, let it happen, right?
Look what Drive to Survive did for Formula One, right? And
sure.
Yes, there is something to be said for it. Maybe that business model is already out there now, and so therefore it's hard to replicate what's already been done elsewhere. But
right.
But I think that idea is kind of one of the things that you have to keep in mind with it. So, Tony Stewart's a track promoter, right? I mean, he's in that business. Yep. And Stewart was saying, look, I haven't dove into it entirely, but in knowing the promotion side of it, I would think it's positive. And I'm telling you what Stewart was said, not what I was said. So what I'm saying. So in that regard, I would think he has a pretty good idea. But again, I mean, nobody knows for certain what any of it means, to be honest with you.
Would this be happening at all if not through the leadership and the guidance and the decision-making of Eric Shanks?
Oh, that's a great question, because obviously he is, and for those that don't know, he is the top brass of Fox Sports, and he's an Indiana guy. So I would think that is a huge factor in it, because you don't have to sell him on what the Indy 500 certainly means. I think the thing that's interesting, John, whenever you're talking about the IndyCar Series and that entity, it all comes down to the passion people have for the Indy 500. And then you hope that becomes, something that parlays into the other races. But the reason that anybody gets involved or falls in love with the IndyCar Series almost entirely is first and foremost because of their love for the Indy 500.
See, I used to think the most famous dude ever from Northview High School was Kenny Rowan in basketball. But evidently, it's Eric Shanks over there from Brazil.
Kenny Rowan,
I kind of wondered about that whole dynamic.
Was Kenny Rowan an 89 All-Star? Is that right?
I believe he was. He was at Indiana State when I was over there, too. And I think he has been, over the course of his career, an Indiana State trooper.
That's
believe that to be. I know that he was he could have whipped ass if he wanted to whip some ass.
That would not
have been a problem for him.
Fairly intimidating officer getting out of the car.
Yeah, he would not have been a problem whatsoever. So I was just kind of gauging. It's weird, right? With IndyCar, and especially, Jake, with the 500, you'll get the younger generation that will love decisions like this, and the old schoolers loathe decisions like this. And I always kind of wonder what our mutual and great friend, the late Robin Miller, would think. And knew him very well. What do you think Robin Miller would think about this situation?
That is a fabulous question. I think Robin probably, even though Robin was somebody that ultimately, ended up working for NBC, and because he was such a wonderful personality and dude in general. Yeah. But I think that Robin probably would have had. I could see where Robin would have, because of the old school nature of him. Robin's an interesting one, though, John, because you could certainly make the case that from a traditional standpoint, the confluence of media, property, and then that in which it is covering should be two separate branches of the government, if you will. And I think Robin got that and would have felt that way. But at the same time, I think Robin also was savvy enough and on top of it enough to understand the evolution landscape of media. And therefore, probably, if Robin would have been the one on the ground floor covering this and knowing about it, I think he'd have been cool with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of wonder, too. I think he would have hated it in the 90s. I think he would have
there's no question.
Loved it 20 years later. Does that make sense?
Totally. And one of the things about Robin that I came to learn that I just love is that there were a lot of public feuds that Robin Miller had and a lot of axes that he ground that you later found out that was orchestrated because he had very good source relationships with some people, but both of them knew that if people found out they were the ones giving Robin information, it would have been the end for both of them. So they put forth the facade. Brilliant.
That makes sense.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And our mutual friend Jack Trudeau knew for how many years who the old scout was. Remember,
right.
Everybody was trying to track down the old scout back in the day. Pat, what was the tight end? Well, why can't I think who that is now? Pat Beach.
Yeah.
Pat Beach always got pissed and tried to. I wanted to say Pat Cash, but he was the tennis player, and that was a cross between Kerry Cash and Pat Beach. But Pat Beach always tried to track him down, and Trudeau always knew who the old scout was and never did let it out.
I just love. Jack is another one, man. Those two dudes. Jack and Robin both were the same guy, right? And the fact that if you were friends with them, you're friends with them, right? And they're just loyal dudes. But Robin, man, was he the best. Just the best.
Yep. Hey, by the way, too, I was listening on the way up here, and I heard you reference a text from the lovely Shannon.
Uh-huh.
You called it or described it tawdry. Can you let me in on it? I need a bit of a thrill this afternoon to get juiced up. Can you let me in on the tawdriness, the level of tawdry?
We were discussing Shohei Ohtani last night left the game early due to cramping. And I said, well, all you got to do is carry a mustard packet because if you start to get a cramp, if you take mustard, theoretically your cramp can go away. And Eddie said, well, what about pickle juice? And I said, yeah, but then you got to carry like a huge jar of pickles in your pocket. And somebody said, did you just reference your pickle in your pocket? And so Shannon sent me a text in reference to that. Her approval thereof.
So is it something that you would like, or would you like to share it with everybody going, yeah, that's right, or, oh, I don't know about that. I don't want to share that. That's not becoming.
She simply Eddie disapproved of
and we
the
both
notion.
Becoming, yes.
Eddie disapproved of the notion of a pickle, and she did not. I'll put it to you that way.
That makes a lot of sense now. All right, well, I wanted to figure that out. I didn't want to get started, and obviously that's not going to be all that we're talking about today, but I did want to talk with somebody like you, and normally we have that opportunity and the crossover there, but about this change because I don't really know what to think about it. I just know this. I know that all these other races need more eyeballs and more interest in kind of the things. I wonder, and if there's going to be a line drawn in the sand between, IndyCar becoming, maybe this is the wrong way to describe it, fox-ized.
Right.
And
that's
what
one
I
of the
mean
things
by
Stewart
that
mentioned.
all of a sudden, are we going to see lights one of these days and the 500 run under the lights because of something like this? I mean, you get all these questions we've had in the past, long-standing questions regarding the 500 or IndyCar, and I think this moves them a little bit back in play as far as thinking about it in the future.
Yeah, that's fair. The thing I've always said about a night race for the 500 is, aside from the cost of lights, I think one of the things that would be the most difficult is, unlike Bristol or unlike a lot of Texas Motor Speedway, those tracks are outside of metropolitan areas to an extent. And the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is right in the middle of, and I realize that it's still within Speedway proper, but it's in a residential area, and just the overall security detail that it would take to get people in and out at that hour of the night, I think, is the one curveball there. But your point is well taken in the fact that, yes, you now have another external voice that has say in the overall, operating procedures moving forward. And so that's another group that you have to listen to what they have to say. And Tony Stewart was talking about, that obviously Fox, from a television standpoint, and their influence in the way that, like, the stage racing and that sort of thing, to keep eyeballs glued to the set throughout the course of the race, and whether or not that's something that could come into play for different IndyCar races, whether or not it goes to the IndyCar races themselves and programming are all, streaming as opposed to television. Those are all questions that remain to be seen.
All right, in our era, did Fox raise the bar on the NFL when it took it over back in the day from, what was it? Was it CBS that took it over from or initially?
Yeah,
was that right?
I mean, it's hard to say whether
Fox
Fox
raise the bar, or was that bar on the rise anyway, regardless?
In the case of the NFL, probably the latter. I think fantasy football and gambling in general had as much to do with the rise of the NFL as anything. But certainly they were along for that ride, no question about it, and they didn't do anything to diminish it. There's no doubt about that.
All right. Well, it's time for you to get out of here, man. You're on the clock, a little extra 10, 15 or so minutes. They going to pay you for that extra time there?
You know what? I'm looking at the clock right here. We get quarter-hour overtime. I got 27 seconds to fill, John.
27? Well, we
24.
can say, what do you got, 27 seconds worth of material to get you over that hump there?
You got the rooster behind you. I want to see if he crows because his body clock is off in Grand Park in Westfield. And then, of course, practice tonight.
Yeah.
You lead everybody right up until that practice, and then you'll keep an eye on that. I know DeForest Buckner's going to join you on the program as well. And the best part about all of that is I managed to say that, and then bada boom, there's the sound of the clock for my 15 minutes. Thank you.
Have you ever been pecked or spurred by a rooster, by the way?
I have not, but I do know that Derek Schultz had a family farm where one attacked him.
They get pissy, man.
Yeah,
like
they're no
when I was
joke.
taking video, I was keeping my distance because I didn't want to get pecked or spurred by Jimmy the Rooster. Because they're hardcore, man. They are. There's a reason why Allison Chains wrote a song about a rooster.
That's beautiful.
They're hardcore.
Well, that one over there, he's there, man. You'll hear him before long. I guarantee it.
Pecked or spurred by a rooster. That's Jake Query, who now is going to get a bit of overtime right there.
That's
well
right.
done, buddy. And
let's go.
Hey, by the way, shout out to Shannon. Likes the little wiener joke she dropped in here in the 3 o'clock hour for everybody.
I see the screen grab,
well
right?
done.
There you go.
I didn't know Shannon still did delve into the category of wiener jokes. That makes me even more excited about knowing her.
We're all 7th graders, buddy. There you go.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, we'll see you, John.
It's Jake Query and Company, noon until 3. A little bit of overtime for him right there regarding this whole Fox and Penske Entertainment agreement. And somebody that's a part of that, Kevin Lee, is going to join us at the bottom of the hour for it. I mentioned Pat Boylan's going to swoop in here in the 4 o'clock hour. I will say this. The Fever watching him last night, it does still feel like clearly you understand there is that missing piece, that significant missing piece of Caitlin Clark, but when they play at a high level and do it consistently, they're pretty damn good even without her. I'm not suggesting that they should play without her or they're better without her, all right? So don't get me wrong on that. But when Kelsey Mitchell is good, when they're getting others involved, because I think the basketball does pop around a little bit more. It's not just in one player's hand the entire time. And I'm sorry, this is as significant of a piece, and this is just from me, basketball observer, but a significant piece would be Aaliyah Boston and her level of play. And I'll give you a great example of that last night. Just a tremendous game out of her. And as I was leaving the studio last night, the game was underway, and Eddie Garrison was in there. And I think it was Pat Boylan and company that flashed up her season averages. And, you know, it's good. Well, I mean, it's double figures. I mean, she averages a double-double, and that's good. But I always found her to be even more talented than what her numbers represented. And while I understand that there's kind of that dynamic that both Eddie and I discussed in that category, kind of like what you saw with Halliburton and Miles, although I think that to the WNBA, that Aaliyah Boston is much more of an all-around performer on both the glass and scoring than Miles was. Just Miles was the step-out threat at 3. But I think there's a comparison to be made, and I thought that was accurate. But I also think that sometimes Aaliyah Boston kind of disappears for moments. And to me, there's no reason for her to disappear. I would expect her to be more, and we'll talk to Pat Boylan about this, as we witnessed in the fourth quarter last night, kind of taking it over. And I do realize you're having, when she's healthy, the most ball-dominant player in the league out there. But when Aaliyah Boston is dominant, or shall I say a little bit more selfish, going out there and getting her own offensively, I think that translates into what she does all the way around. And I think the other aspect is when she stays away from foul trouble, it seems like that the whistle brings her down. And believe me, it's a rite of passage in any level of basketball. If you think you're getting an unfair whistle or the call was bad, it is very easy for the coach or your parents or anybody in the stands to say, you got to forget about it and move on. And we talk about that all the time. You got to forget about that and you got to move on. But it's difficult as an athlete or a competitor sometimes to do just that because you're just so pissed. I'm upset. I'm getting screwed. And then if you get another one, it's like one on top of the other and you're getting even more screwed and maybe you're targeted. I think the whistle gets her down at times more than it does anybody on that team. But last night was a really good night of just how dominant and how consistently dominant that she could be. We'll discuss that with Pat Boylan coming up at the top of the hour. As Jake mentioned, DeForest Buckner is going to join us here live inside the tent. Give you a great example. I can't give you a landscape shot here inside the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live out of what is going on. But there is absolutely nobody here right now. And it stands to reason because you have a night practice and nothing gets really underway. I don't even know if our guests are going to be here. I know DeForest Buckner is going to slide by, but I don't know if Mike Chappell is going to be here or is he going to be caught between Beach Grove and Westfield here on the inbound coming up later on at the 5 o'clock hour. But there is not a lot going on except for Dev, Jimmy the Rooster, and I out here. But later on tonight, it will be buzzing. It is that first practice. And all eyes are going to be on the quarterback position. Make no mistake about that. A lot of eyes are going to be on Tyler Warren, what he continues to do at the tight end position, having the skill set of which we haven't seen around here. We've seen some talented tight ends, don't get me wrong, but this one, so far from what has been described, takes it to a different level. And then you're also going to be watching what everybody's talking about defensively. And we have spent so much time talking about the secondary, whether it is Charvarius Ward or it's Cam Bynum, the new free agency acquisitions that have been brought in, or the injury now to Jalen Jones, or hoping Juju Brents can put together some time and availability on the field to show what he can do, or Kenny Moore, who's been around here forever. You know what I mean? And because the new coordinator has, as it seems, a bit of a lean with defensive playmaking of the secondary. But what about what's taking place up front? And this is a good thing because it's a rite of passage. It is something that you can count on. Over the years, especially recent history, this Colts team has not had very much that you can consistently count on, which means you can write down, and this is going to happen come hell or high water. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a positive at a higher level no matter what. The one area I think you can look at with an individual would be that of DeForest Buckner. Now, we'll talk to DeForest Buckner live inside this here tent coming up at 4:30 about that and then some. Coming up a little bit later on. So cannot wait. I want to hear about the transition from Gus Bradley to Lou Anarumo, a couple of his new teammates defensively, and whether or not he saw a little bit of a spark, for example, in a guy like Latu as a rookie a year ago, to where you can see a major move. And we talk about those that evaluate the talent out here. We talk about those that spend all their time watching what goes on out here. But how about the insight from somebody that's actually plays consistently at a high level about his teammates out here and what he's seen in the first week? DeForest Buckner joins us coming up at 4:30, live in this tent later on today. Mike Chappell is at 5 from CBS 4 and Fox 59. I'd mentioned that James yesterday, James, as we hit a break, that we had a pair of tickets to give away courtesy of AAA. I'm going to make sure that is good with the president. This comes down from the highest ranking official, the president of AAA, Matt Goins. He said, give away some Colts tickets while you're out there tomorrow. So I'm going to make sure that is good to go, and somebody over the course of the afternoon can win a pair of tickets. I don't know to what game, in what capacity, but why would you even care? You guys love winning stuff. We love giving it away. AAA loves having you involved as well, so we'll do that at some point later on this afternoon. Meantime, 239-1070. Email address is jmv at 1075thefan.com. Inside the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live. The Cubs fans were happy yesterday afternoon in Milwaukee. Reds fans were happy last night. Reds actually start a new series with the Braves. I believe it's a new series with the Braves coming up later on tonight. I don't think it's a makeup game. I think it is a weekend set with the Braves. I'll make sure I check on that, but I do know the Reds get the Braves coming up later on tonight. Reds make some moves, get a pitcher, the Reds get a third baseman, and there's a lot going on around Major League Baseball prior to the trade deadline. We'll hit on that coming up a little bit later on as well. I mentioned the number, 239-1070. The stream, the app, it's HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Thank you all for joining me, Dev, and Jimmy the Rooster at Grand Park in Westfield for this show's first time in 2025 at Colts Camp. We're not going anywhere. We're back with you next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Sandwich a Dr. Pepper, make it fast. I'm in a damn hurry.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Jimmy, this one's for you right here. Don't spur me. Don't be pecking on me, Jimmy. This one's for you. Sing it. Oh, the great Jerry Cantrell, I believe this, James, was it not, about Jerry Cantrell's father who served in Vietnam. Yeah, what a great song this is. Alice in Chains. Lane Staley, the late Lane Staley, all time one of the great voices, really in any form of music, but certainly rock music. Grant Park in Westfield, DeForest Buckner is going to join us live. That's coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, around 4:30 or so. Pat Boylan at 4 and Mike Chappell at 5. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, you can see all of his work on Fox. Just doing a fantastic time, or job, I should say, and having a great time, I'm assuming, as well. On the road right now, and he can explain that a little bit further, but I was kind of curious and wanted as much insight as possible to speak educated on this whole thing going on between IndyCar and Fox, or I should say Penske Entertainment and Fox. And Kevin Lee joins us now. So this would be a good thing, I guess. You got a lot of skin in the game on this bad boy, I'm assuming. This is exciting for you, is it not, moving forward with the news today?
I feel like it's a good thing for me personally, and leaving that out of it, I think it's a great thing for the sport. For me, the fear is always, well, what if they change broadcasters again in 2 years and I'm back where I was last year trying to move from NBC to Fox and get a new group to pick me up. So this, assures that we're going to have some continuity, and Fox is going to be the television home of IndyCar for a long time. And for IndyCar, I think it's good because now you have really a promotional arm. You have stability. You have a TV partner that is invested. It's one thing to get network television availability, but if the network is not all on board and does not believe in the property and doesn't do everything they can to promote it, then it doesn't do you a whole lot of good. So now not only we've seen it, Fox has invested. Eric Shanks is an Indy 500 and an IndyCar fan, and that's why this happened, and that's why you had the biggest rating that you've had since 2008. But now they have skin in the game. They have a reason to lean in even more and invest even more beyond just promos on their properties and use their creativity and their resources. Let's face it, IndyCar, even though it's a professional sports league, is a relatively small operation. It pales in comparison in staff to what NASCAR has, and certainly Formula One. So there's only so much the people there can do. So now you've got a major corporation to really give you ideas and resources to move the sport forward.
So this all basically has happened and has been spearheaded by the pride of Northview High School in Brazil, Indiana, the head of Fox Sports, Eric Shanks. Does any of this interest whatsoever happen without him moving this forward?
I highly doubt it. That's how it got done in the first place. Properties, sports is hot, and it had value because it's DVR proof. And what we're seeing is that scripted shows, they might get a higher rating, but how many people are watching the commercials? That's what the business is about. So live sports are very valuable. So I'm sure Fox would have had an interest, but when it's important to the CEO, Eric Shanks, it then becomes important to everyone else. And once the people get involved, they love it. You get involved in IndyCar and you find out, oh, we've been missing on something here. So, yeah, he's the genesis of this. That said, if Lachlan Murdoch is not on board, and I met him at the 500 this year, and he seemed to have a wonderful time, he's got to sign off on this too. So that's good that everybody is on board, and they see an untapped resource here, and they see a lot of growth potential.
This Kevin Lee joins us. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We're live at Colts camp where DeForest Buckner joins us here in this tent coming up on the side of the field at Grand Park at 4:30. So you'd mentioned the added eyeballs to the events now and, the interest that that obviously Eric Shank starting right there and Lachlan Murdoch have with the product and moving this thing forward. And this doesn't come without other numbers as well. And the other numbers would be that of the level of advertising. And I'm assuming the teams also play a role in, what their livery looks like and, who they have in their ad schemes and who's paying the money to help their operation move forward as well. Is all that on an uptick from what you know? I know that you're just a part of the broadcasting portion of it, but still, do you see all those numbers also coming together better for yet another reason as to why they're doing what they're doing today?
The sales and marketing people with the teams tell me it has been much easier to have these conversations with partners and sponsors because you can guarantee every race this year, next year, and ongoing is going to be on network television. This time last year, you would be trying to sell space on the car for a particular race in a market where maybe a sponsor is at, but you couldn't tell them with 100% certainty whether it was going to be on network television or cable or streaming. And there's a big difference there. If it's on streaming, you're talking 50,000 people. If it's on CNBC, it's 80,000 people. Here you're talking minimum 5-something, and that's the aggregate number. The total numbers this year, because it's all on network television, are already up about 5 million just for the races, and that's not counting the practices that are on FS1 and FS2. From the Fox perspective, I think something that's worth saying, and this is just my opinion, no one has told me what the real thinking was, but I know Fox wants to help IndyCar, wants to do everything they can. So they could have simply done that to benefit themselves as the television home. But if I'm Fox and I'm going to really invest in this sport and bring the ratings up, I'm not going to take a chance that then IndyCar sells it to another network in 2 years for more money because now the property is worth more. So I think this is them protecting their own investment and actually having a stake in the game. But one, just making sure that they're going to have the rights. They're going to try to grow this sport and make it bigger than it is, and they want to make sure that it's not going anywhere.
It's Kevin Lee who joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Is this also working for the teams in sponsorships as well? You're closer to that, I know.
Yeah, that's what I was speaking of, that the teams are having a better chance of getting meaning. I'm sure it helps IndyCar as well, but most of what the teams need is just based on television ratings and visibility, and just now when they see the sport that they're a part of in a Super Bowl commercial with Tom Brady and they have other things in mind, this all, while it came together last summer, that's still relatively quick. I don't know what they have planned for next year, but I'm told it's going to be a little bigger and go beyond, they're not going to have the Super Bowl next year, so they'll have other plans in mind. The World Cup next year is going to be a big deal, and Fox has that. So that's an opportunity to promote the end of the season and the championship with that.
It's Kevin Lee who joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Is a dominant season with one driver that you're going through right now, is that good for everything? And I guess I would add to this, is it good for everything when that dominant driver is maybe one of the nicest dudes ever? I mean, don't you wish the dominant driver would have a little bit more of a, I don't know, mean spirit, so to speak, so you can add a little bit of back and forth? Because, I mean, he's just a really lovable dude in general.
It's kind of hard to root against Alex Palou, isn't it? There's not a mean bone in his body.
No.
I would compare it a little bit to when Jimmy Johnson was winning 7 championships in a short span. And I got to know Jimmy pretty well and knew him from afar when he was dominating. And other than being tired of him winning, there wasn't any reason to dislike Jimmy Johnson. So, in a perfect scenario, yeah, we'd like to have the championship going down to the last race and a lot of different people winning. But I don't think this is all bad if you can't get that, because the Michael Jordan era was pretty cool in the NBA. Everybody outside of Indianapolis enjoyed seeing if anyone could beat Tom Brady and the Patriots, Schumacher in Formula One. We celebrate greatness, and we are seeing he is up there with Foyt and Andretti and anyone else you want to name with what he is doing at this point.
Yeah, that's amazing. No doubt about that. All right, what's your schedule coming up rest of the week?
I just got to Road America. I'm working for NBC this weekend for the sports car race, and my son Jackson is driving for Wayne Taylor Racing and Lamborghini Super Trofeo. So I'm racing Dad today, and then I'll get to work tomorrow. I think we're on Peacock this weekend on Sunday afternoon from Road America. It's a cool place.
Man, that's nice. What did you say? Jackson's run Lamborghini? Did you say that?
That's what he's been doing this year. So he's with a new team. Wayne Taylor is the top team, based out of Indianapolis. It's owned by Dan Tauris that owns Andretti and the Cadillac F1 team. So this is where you want to be. He's got a really good pro teammate, so he'll learn a lot. The only problem was he got in the car today for the first time, and he can't turn the wheel because he's too tall. So they've got to make some adjustments. So the first practice didn't go as well as he wanted because he couldn't turn effectively in either direction. And he still was mid-pack pace.
It's like, is it like getting into the carnival and like a bumper car or a bumper boat, and you get the steering wheel between your legs or something like that? Is that what he's dealing with?
Race cars are not made for people that are 6'4", so they have to maximize every opportunity. And his teammates are normally quite a bit shorter than him. Luckily, Trent Hinman is about 6 foot, so he's a bigger co-driver. So they're just going to take the seat insert out and ask Trent to lean up a little bit, and so they can turn the wheel.
So does he get to drive a Lamborghini? Is that
he does? Yeah, he always drives significantly better cars than me. He's raced a Porsche, a BMW, an Aston Martin, and he's been doing a Lamborghini Super Trofeo Huracan all this season. So it'll hit about.
I don't even know what the hell that is, but it sounds expensive as hell.
I bought the insurance. I did. You actually can get race car insurance. And when they asked me the first time I did this early this year, they asked for a VIN number, and I said, "Really? Does a race car have a VIN number?" It does, just like any other car.
No, it does. I had no idea. So you got to take a picture. You got to take a picture of it through the windshield, like we all do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had no idea. Jackson Lee, that's awesome. Lamborghini, has it got gull wing action too, where you lift it up, pop out of it? Door wise? No door.
Well, a little bit. Yeah, it's got. Okay. Yeah, it's got the lift door. I've actually never really paid much attention. I'm usually working while he's racing, so I went to his race at Sebring at the beginning of the year, but he's been doing well. He's been on the podium every weekend, and now they'll get a little bit of a chance to fight with the front guys because he's got a pro teammate.
Man, Dad's got to get a Lamborghini at some point.
Yeah, Dad usually has a Civic or a Malibu. They stopped making the Malibus. So, yeah.
Oh, man. That is awesome right there. Absolutely love that. So, give my best to Jackson.
Those are on Peacock this weekend, too. And I don't have to broadcast it, so that's good.
You got it. Hey, way to go, Racing Dad. I appreciate that. And also the knowledge. It seemed like to me that was good news, but I was talking to Jake about this a little bit earlier, and sometimes the water gets a little bit muddy because the old guard absolutely hates it, and the younger generation loves it, and everybody kind of meets in the middle right there. So I just wondered.
So I'd say this. I've read some of the comments on social media, and there are some, and sometimes people just like to be angry on social media of how horrible this is and the conflict of interest. And let's face it, the broadcast partner is a broadcast partner. They have always had a working relationship with the sport that they cover. You know this. The Masters dictates who gets to broadcast for CBS, right?
Yeah.
And when one of them says something they don't like, that person is no longer broadcasting the Masters. The same is true with the NBA and the NFL. The commissioners can say, I don't want this person on anymore, and the networks all know if we go too far, then, that's going to impact things for the next rights period. Money is always going to be the bottom line, but if all things are equal, that's part of it. So it is a partnership, and it's, sometimes it can be a little bit delicate, but not really. When you're doing a race broadcast, you're not getting into the innards of the sport. Race control is not going to be – Eric Shanks is not going to be in race control. It's going to be someone that works for IndyCar, and we're going to be open to say whether we thought something was the right call or not, and nothing there is going to change. And the other stuff is for talk shows. So, maybe it's a little more delicate for me on trackside, but I'm kind of used to that. I've worked for teams all my life. So you're always worried about what a vice president thinks.
I've tried to get Eric Shanks on this show a number of times, and I can't reel him in. Is it that difficult?
I don't know. I've got his phone number, but I'm probably not going to share it.
Why wouldn't you?
You can go through
Well, that's
You can go
where
through
we have a
Megan.
problem. Yeah, we have a problem with that part of it. So
You're going to need to go through PR, and I'll be honest, I'm not reaching out to Eric. I respond to him when he asks me something, and that's how that works. I feel like that's best for me.
While I am a little bit disappointed, I do understand. I'm just a little bit disappointed. I could just say, hey, man, I was running through Brazil, and I went past Northview High School.
Eric and Megan at Fox PR, and they'll put you on the list, and it might be a bit. He's been busy.
No, it has been a bit. It has, and my man's not that busy. So come on now.
I think he is. He is.
I think he's got 5 minutes. 5 minutes to prop this bad boy up. So, yeah, all good. I'm disappointed, but I do understand, and I also understand your situation paying for the Lamborghini insurance. So I got you.
So in Nashville, when all the PR execs are there again, I will put a word into them and say, hey, if you hear from a hillbilly that says he is from Eric's neighborhood, please give him consideration. Is that how I should phrase that?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Kaylee. Appreciate you, man.
I will do all I can.
It's Kevin Lee on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Actually, I think that James has been working on that. James, how long have you been working on Eric Shanks? And it's been Megan you've been trying to go through, right?
Yeah, it's been through Megan, and I don't even remember when it was I first reached out. Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's almost like that's even more difficult than the fever, I think, is trying to get somebody on here, that's pretty damn difficult if you want the true form of it. Hey, the Colts aren't, though, and DeForest Buckner is going to be in this tent at 4:30. We will talk about the fever at the top of the hour. They win last night over Phoenix, and Pat Boylan is going to join us coming up here. Hey, what's up, guys, at 4 o'clock. Mike Chappell of CBS 4 on Fox 59. He'll be here in the 5 o'clock hour. Night practice with the Colts later on this evening. Grand Park and Westfield. Stream the app. It's HD Radio, the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Ding dong.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. We are in the tent at Grand Park in Westfield. Dev's the on-site engineer. I'm John. Thank you for joining us. Our good friend Chris Litzy asked me this: which Saturday night are you doing the JMV takeover from the State Fair? That is a week from Saturday. A week from Saturday night, we will be doing the JMV takeover live from the State Fair. That's 6 until midnight on B105.7. And I have received thumbs up from the awesome Laura Steele, who's going to join us out there and do some segments with us. And DJ Skids is going to bring the equipment, and the mini mixes you request will be live inside the tap room at the Indiana State Fair. I'm telling you, we started road shows with the JMV Takeover going back now. It'll be 3 years coming up Labor Day weekend. Our annual Labor Day weekend bender, Mystic Waters Campground, Pendleton. We started that. This will be the third year, and we're going out again. We went out night before the 500 in the Coke lot. That was spectacular. But the Indiana State Fair inside the tap room, and Litz and anybody else, I want to see everybody out there, and you can. Tap room's going to be open, beers, and the all-request Saturday night. I'm telling you, this is going to be an incredible blast. Indiana State Fair a week from Saturday. The JMV Takeover. Litz and anybody else that would like to join us, I would love to see you out there. I did want to give a shout-out, too, on my way in. And I think it was about 8 months ago, we did a tavern tour stop at Sid's in Noblesville. On my way in, and I got to give a shout-out to SPT, that's Sean Patrick Turley, who celebrated a birthday yesterday, who put me in touch with Brian, the owner of Sid's. They're going to be celebrating 80 years in Noblesville at Sid's next week. So a shout-out to Sid's, and they want to get us back up there and do a live show. We got to kind of figure that out logistically because we have the golf outing next Thursday as well down at Legends in Franklin. But I would love to get back to Sid's, and I wanted to give a shout-out because Brian and I were having a conversation at Sid's tonight, which I may go by on my way home since I'm already up here. At Sid's later on tonight, you have the Jay Baker Trio, which is a fantastic group to listen to here locally. That is at Sid's in Noblesville later on tonight, and they're celebrating, I believe it to be 80 years in business at Sid's. It's right there on the square in Noblesville. We did a tavern tour stop there a little less than a year ago, and it was outstanding. I believe that was the second time, and James can understand this, the second time where, no, actually, I take that back. I believe our good friend Fulton was going to be there, but he didn't end up getting a ride there. Fulton was at Crafters in Carmel. Yes, it was Lindsay Monroe of Channel 13 was with us at Sid's last time out. But Brian and Sid's, the celebration of 80 years, I believe it to be, is coming up Thursday through Sunday next week. And that is one of our favorite places around, and in fact, a place that was recommended for us to substitute coming up on the Tavern Tour in the month of August. So we shall see how all that works out. But Brian's an awesome dude. Loved the conversation a little bit earlier today. All right, other side, Pat Boylan, the voice of the Fever, is going to join us. Another win for the Fever last night. What I really liked most about it, we'll get into that with Pat. Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. And DeForest Buckner joins us of the Colts in this tent coming up at 4:30. The stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. We're back after this on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
There's a kid in my class that got a boner at PE in high school. He was wearing sweatpants. It was really embarrassing, so this song goes out to him.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Mike Chappell, 5 o'clock hour, CBS 4 and Fox 59. Somebody over here from Channel 13 is doing a live stand-up or faking on right now. Hey, James, how much money will you give me if I walk behind this dude and just completely photobomb this shot?
I'll give you a good $10.
All right, what do you want? Do you want finger gesture or ass cheeks? What do you want?
Oh, we got to go ass cheeks.
Oh, yes.
I got to get a good bang for my buck.
Dev, are you in on this? Little cheekage out there in the background of Channel 13 WTHR. He's incredibly offended by it. By the way, DeForest Buckner, bottom of the hour, joins us right here. I mentioned Mike Chappell in the 5 o'clock hour, but he also has some gainful employment thanks to Channel 13 WTHR, and wants no mention on his watch of my bare ass cheeks on his station. Pat Boylan, the voice of the Fevers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Are you frowning against what I'm trying to do or thinking about doing right now?
You couldn't have put that any better. You may do whatever you would like. However, please do not associate me with your chicanery, please.
Hey, this is Pat Boylan. Just suggested I go out here and show my butt crack here on Channel 13. You don't want me to say it that way?
I think I have some evidence here that I have not said it that way. But you know what? You're your own man, John. You do what you got to do.
I know. I am. Yes, indeed I am. And here's the one thing I think we all understand, whether you've known me for a long period of time or you're just getting to know me, I normally make the wrong decision. So that is so much about me. The wrong decision, or I forget about it. I think the right decision I make is because I forget to make the decision. So that's where I err on the side of caution when I forget about it right there. The one thing I didn't forget about is watching last night, and this stood out to me regarding the Fever, and they have certainly hit a bit of a groove, and playing without Caitlin Clark, that is difficult. There's no doubt about that. But there is certainly enough talent there. And I expect, and maybe that's just me because her numbers are really good anyway, but I so expect, Pat, Aaliyah Boston to look more times than not, or should I say consistently, as she did late in that game. And when she looks like that, when she's a little bit more selfish getting her own, when she's not so worried about the whistle she's getting, and then she does things on both ends, I think this takes this team to a different level.
Well, yeah, you look at a game like last night, and you go into the fourth quarter, and the Fever had, I believe, a 2-point lead going into the fourth, and a 2-point lead against a good team going into the fourth without Caitlin Clark playing. Kelsey Mitchell, I think at that point, had finished with just 8 points, and Aaliyah Boston hadn't really gotten going either. I mean, you think about just the general growth of this team to be in that position with those three players either out or the other two not playing all the way up to what they know they're capable of, and then we saw what we saw, which was just an Aaliyah Boston takeover. She had the first 14 points for the Fever of the quarter, and it was as good of a stretch as anybody in a Fever uniform has played all season long. And I'll even include a couple of spectacular Caitlin Clark games and stretches in that. I mean, what Boston did last night was vital. It was so important. She and Ari McDonald, of course, the 27 career high points is massive in a game like this, and sometimes you need players like that to step up to get wins like this. But no, I mean, there's no question she's vital to this team regardless. She's even more important than vital, whatever that word is, when they don't have Caitlin Clark. And I do agree. She's such a cerebral player, and I think sometimes the best option is for her to just try and take over, even if that's not always, what's in the forefront of her mind. It almost reminds me a little bit in that regard sometimes of Tyrese Halliburton, where hunting your own shot is sometimes the best thing for the team, even if there maybe is a teammate that's more open, you're that talented. And I think that's exactly, what she realized. I wasn't in those huddles, but maybe something that was, drawn up or emphasized to her by the coaching staff is, look, we need you here. It's the fourth quarter. We're playing a good team. This is a really important game. And I thought she was brilliant in the fourth and massive in Indiana's third straight win here. And They get 3 games over 500 here for the first time this season. It's actually something they didn't do all of last year when they had Caitlin Clark fully healthy. So they're clearly rounding into a much better form here lately over the last week or so. And you consider to score 107, third most points in franchise history without Caitlin Clark on the floor. That's a real testament to growth, I think.
I will say this, too, regarding Aaliyah Boston, and this may be completely inaccurate, and I know this stuff happens to any level of athlete, and it is maybe the hardest thing to combat. But I think sometimes the whistle gets in her head. I think sometimes if she misses one that she believes that she should make, that gets in her head. I think sometimes she has a hard time to shake it, meaning I think she's much better when she just plays and doesn't think about other crap. That's just my very distant observation in watching her play, because I do have a great deal of confidence in her being as top level as anybody we watch.
Yeah, and certainly I agree with that last part. And, I think when she is locked in and when she is laser focused, she is a force. She is really, really difficult to stop. And, a reminder here that she is a third-year player who is not 24 years old yet. I mean, some of the things that we're seeing from her, she was so good right away. She was an all-star in her rookie season. And Caitlin Clark, I don't even want to use the word suffer because it's not the right context here. But suffers from this a little bit, just that they were so good so early that they get so much expectation heaped on them, and then sometimes a reminder of just how young these players still are. Aaliyah Boston's in her third year, and she is young for her class. She's only a couple months older than Caitlin Clark. So, certainly I think aspects that players work through, mental focus and all of that. But she's got, I think, especially for her position, you always hear about guards being cerebral players, and you don't always hear about it as much with bigs. And I think Boston is a terrific example of a big that has a guard's mind. She's extremely cerebral. She's leading the league in assists at her position, the center position. And I think that, is what makes her such a strong, well-rounded player. And when she's locked in, when she's able to do the type of things and focus the way that she did early fourth quarter last night, she's already one of the premier bigs in the WNBA, despite not yet being 24 years old.
That's Pat Boylan, the voice of the Fever, kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We're live in Westfield at Colts Camp, Grand Park, with a night practice later on tonight, and DeForest Buckner about 20 minutes away from joining us. Is it okay with the rest of the world that we give Sophie Cunningham credit for being a really good basketball player and not always start talking about her social media presence? Because she has meant, I think, when this team has been good this season, and we have seen that as of late, her fingerprints literally are all over that product.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think sometimes she doesn't get enough credit for that. And what she's done over the last 3 weeks has really been spectacular. She went on a stretch of 3 weeks or so where she was shooting 55-56% from the three-point line. And again, all of this even more vital when you don't have Caitlin Clark out there. When you have Caitlin Clark, she covers up so much with her just incredible offensive acumen and her vision, her passing, her scoring. And when you don't have that, it's vital to have players with stretches like, we may not talk Chelsea Mitchell here because she had a down night last night, but what she has been doing over the last month has been spectacular. And what Sophie Cunningham has been doing the last few weeks has been really, really good. And even on a night like last night where she actually was struggling a bit to shoot the ball, she got, I think, the wind knocked out of her at one point, and then she took a shot to the face where she was counting the chiclets, if you could see on TV, to make sure she didn't take any peace. And so she had a tough night, and then to step in there and hit what I thought ended up being the biggest shot of the game, which was the 4-point play with 3 or 4 minutes left. I thought that really separated the Fever, and while they went on a couple of runs there in the last couple of minutes and made things a little bit interesting, Phoenix did, I thought that was kind of the moment that really put the Fever right up to the doorstep of a victory. And that 4-point play was, I think as big a shot as the Fever have had this season. She's played well here for a nice stretch of play. And to have her out there late in games and her ability to stretch the floor, but then also kind of bring the fierceness and toughness, it's what you envisioned the Fever having when they signed her. And then for those who remember, she suffered 2 ankle injuries early in the season, struggled with her shot for a little bit. She had been not as effective as she would like to be by the time we got probably through the month of June. But July was a very different story for her, and hopefully she'll be able to carry that into August.
So Pat Boylan is with us. I just want to give credit where credit is due on this because she obviously is majorly in the public eye, but I think most people think about her as a major social media presence, but she has been a damn good basketball player for this team this season.
Yeah, and I mean, you can be both. I think there are so many people that look at that and then say, okay, well, that's going to be a distraction for her. Well, no, she's answered that pretty clearly here lately, that, she can go out there and be, as you say, a pretty darn good basketball player. And she's the type of player I think that the Fever were really missing last year. Now, they have and had Lexi Hull, who I think is probably the closest player to her. There's some things, Lexi's a better defender, but they both kind of bring that it factor. Cunningham maybe has the target on her back a little bit more, maybe not afraid to have somebody else's back if something happens. For example, Caitlin Clark in that Connecticut game back in early June. But I think the Fever were just kind of missing a player that on the floor, 3-and-D, fierce, feisty, knocks down the big shot, and can really lift spirits. And like Lexi Hull, I think she does a lot of things that don't always hit the box score. But then when she hits the big shot like last night, she reminds you really what she's capable of. And frankly, why the Fever targeted her in the offseason. She was traded for, but she was traded for, as she has mentioned, because she wanted to be here. And it was her desire to be here and with the Fever that kind of allowed a trade like that to happen. The one that was a 3-team deal with Dallas and Phoenix. It was actually how Satu Sabali got to Phoenix from Dallas. But that trade, I think, looking back on it, one of the more significant offseason moves. And I think she's the type of player that's just really built for the playoffs once the Fever gets there.
It's Pat Boylan with us. Dallas up next. Obviously, this team playing as well as it can right now without Caitlin Clark. What's the timeline, in your opinion, and what we have heard as far as the return of Caitlin Clark as how they're handling this injury right now?
I was actually listening pretty intently to her conversation, her appearance on Jake's show yesterday to see if she would drop any Easter eggs or any hints. And Stephanie White continues to keep the cards very close to the chest. So anything for me would be a guess at this point. But, I do think what you'll see and what will be the sign that she's getting closer is when she's participating in practice. And that's the one thing that Stephanie White has said over and over pretty consistently. The Fever were actually fairly conservative in bringing Caitlin Clark back last time. They really didn't want to rush it. They wanted to make sure she was good. In fact, I think she probably could have come back a couple games before she did, albeit on a minutes restriction. And the team and Caitlin kind of decided, let's hold on this. Let's play it a little bit more safely and wait until we feel confident that you can play your full slate of minutes. And sometimes you just run into bad luck and there's nothing really to blame for it. But I think you're going to see the difference this time being, once it was deemed that she was physically ready, she went back out there. I think this go around, once it's deemed she's physically ready, they'll ramp her up through a longer, more extended practice period. So right now, it would just be a guess. Hopefully, it does come here in August. And I think once you start to see her become more involved in practice, that will be your sign that return is coming sooner rather than later. I mean, you see her on the bench in some of those shots. She clearly is moving around well enough and clearly is eyeing, a return and ability to bring this team, which is playing well right now, and hopefully, be that piece that pushes things over the edge here, in the back half of the season. I've made this comparison here on your show before, but I think there is a high possibility that we could see something parallel to what the Pacers just did with the Fever. Slow starts, injury bogs the team down in the first half, back half of the season, team gets hot, team gets healthy. That's my glass half full view, and Caitlin will obviously need to get back there for the Fever to have any chance of that happening, but there's still a good chunk of the season remaining, and hopefully some time for her to ramp back up and for this team to really be humming once we get into September, which is playoff time.
My brother, I appreciate you more than you know, and we'll catch back up again at some point next week, but thanks for always coming on when we ask. We appreciate that.
You got it, John. Appreciate you as well.
Pat Boylan, the voice of the Fever. I am going to James break here because I think they're going to bring DeForest Buckner over here shortly, and I want to make sure I have enough time with him. So DeForest Buckner is going to be here momentarily. We shall take a break. It's the first night practice, Grand Park in Westfield with the Colts. Colts camp. This show is here until 6. We'll be hanging with DeForest Buckner, hopefully coming up on the other side, and Mike Chappell on the 5 o'clock hour. Stream the app. It's HD Radio and the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. I am waving at you right now. Actually, the sun's trying to, I'm going to laugh when I say this, poke through right now. We'll see if it happens on the return. Westfield's our location, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
With JMV.
And the beat goes on, yeah. And the beat goes on.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
No, do I love seeing this, by the way, as we should have DeForest Buckner on the inbound in just a second. Our guy, Litzy, just sent me this via the social media platform X. Finally got the diamond. Here is a picture. It's Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel on my way up here. Passed right by that. Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. And Litz says Mandy has been awesome with all the help. Man, it's great. And if you remember, Litzy got that by winning our bracket challenge with Moyer Fine Jewelers. I think for a number of games throughout the tournament back in March and early April, I was like right there in the mix. And then once we got to the Final Four, I think one of the semifinals and then clearly the championship game was kind of foobar-ish for me. But up until that point in time, we're moving along. But a shout-out to Litzy, who won it and who met with Mandy over there earlier today at Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. Just a little bit north of 146 in Carmel, where you have to go, where you need to go if you're getting engaged. Summertime is one thing, especially now when we see a lot of schools going back. For example, my daughter Lainey went back to Center Grove a little bit earlier today, which is weird because it's still July, but that's the way that it is. And this is also proposal season, as we tell you about all the time. And those that can make sure you are good to go would be those at Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. Talk to Dan and Lauren, Mandy today. Man, let's thank you very much for that. Just a great – I'll have to re-X that, if you will. That's outstanding work out of you right there. Really is. JMV, regarding what you said about Leah Boston, I completely agree with you. I think sometimes she needs to be a little bit more selfish. And that may be, when I said that, selfish may be the wrong way to put it. Because I didn't want to say focus, because I think that she's always focused. I just think when she does what she does in the fourth, she can be that more often, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. And that is so important. And I'm saying with or without Caitlin Clark. Now, part of it is, the ball, when Caitlin Clark gets back, it's just going to be in the hands of Caitlin Clark the entire time. But I think Aaliyah Boston, if she is more of that presence like we saw last night, that does end up taking this team to a different level. I mean, it just does. And I think you witnessed that last night with Phoenix. The Mercury there upset about DeWanna Bonner getting booed. I got news for you. It's kind of a rite of passage. Booing happens, especially between a player and a team and a fan base where it worked out so craptacularly as it did here in those couple of months during the DeWanna Bonner era, if you want to call it that. So they were upset on that side. There's always somebody upset about something. That's the other thing. That's another rite of passage in the WNBA. Always upset about something. I should bring this up because I didn't yesterday as well. And I mentioned Sophie Cunningham being more noted for being a social media presence than she has been talked about as a basketball player. And especially as of late, she has been very good for this Fever team. I think it's more about her basketball play with this team than it is about her social media presence. But she was upfront and honest in her own podcast about the effect that Caitlin Clark has, and 100% accurate. I think it was described as putting everybody that believes that Caitlin Clark is not kind of driving this thing right now on blast, I guess is the cool thing to say. But it was 100% accurate, as we all well know with that. And, it's up to them and really everybody to grow this with what you have right now. And we'll see if that happens. Up next for the Fever, it is the Wings of Dallas. Mike Chappell's going to join us coming up at the top of the hour. I do see DeForest Buckner on the way over here in the golf cart. and we'll talk to the Colts defensive player coming up here in just a second. So, Dev, when he sits down, make sure you go ahead and turn the camera there because everybody can look at him and not look at my dumb ass here for a little bit of time. So I know you'll be really happy with that. Back in studio coming up tomorrow. And then next week, obviously, there's a lot going on, including the fan golf outing that takes place down at Legends Golf Club in Franklin. That is next Thursday. So it is on the inbound and coming up here incredibly quickly. So that is next Thursday. And then really a lot of this starts where you're talking about the Colts games getting underway in the preseason and us being on the road during the regular season with Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots and our Bud Light Blue Fridays. All that starts relatively soon. So get ready. And the Hall of Fame games later on tonight. So, in essence now, basically until February, you have the NFL Weekly the remainder of the way. You will not be without it beginning coming up later on tonight. So that little MLB conversation we'll get back into regarding the trade deadline coming up too. And both the Reds and the Cubs getting wins as of yesterday afternoon and last night. There is Matt Conti. Matt, well done right there. I was going to give you a tremendous shout out because of the job that you do. Hey, joining us now here, not on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, but live because we're going to switch the video over to him instead of me, which is probably going to up our numbers a great deal right here. It's from the defensive side of the football from the Colts. DeForest Buckner joins us.
How's it going?
Good to see you. How you doing, pal?
Doing good.
Everything okay?
Yeah.
I thought about you, and this is not in the game of football because you're from Hawaii, and with that 8.8 magnitude earthquake that happened in eastern Russia, everything okay where you're from regarding the tsunami effect?
Yeah, I checked in on my family. Obviously we're in the middle of camp and everything, and when we broke and everything for the night. I was seeing a bunch of the alerts and stuff like that. So, I called my parents and my brother and all them. And, they said that they were doing well. And I told my brother to keep me updated. And, he texted me, obviously it was like 3 a.m. here. But when I woke up, he said, they're all good and everything's fine. So
now, are they okay where they were, or did they have to go find higher ground there?
My parents just stayed in place.
Did they really?
Yeah, we literally live right across the street from the ocean. So, yeah, my mom and my dad were like, you know what, we're just gonna stay posted. I mean, we get tsunami warnings all the time, and
do they really happen often there?
I mean, growing up, we had to go up to my cousin's house in the valley a couple times, a bunch, and those nights are long nights because. We're packing pretty much our entire house.
Yeah.
And then bringing it with us in the cars and going up to my cousin's house. And all of a sudden, they're like, oh, it's supposed to hit this time. And, it's like maybe like a 2-foot wave that comes in and stuff like that. And it's like, all right, well, it's done. So I think it's just a time where my mom and my dad are like, you know what, we're just going to stay in place. If it happens, it happens.
Well, it's good that everything is okay over there too, because I mean, for us, it's just something that is so foreign to us. But when you hear about the entire Pacific Rim like that, and
no, definitely, it's definitely a scary thing. Mother Nature's crazy.
Yeah.
And, growing up, I had tsunami warnings. I felt a couple earthquakes. and then I moved to, California, live out there for a while. We got earthquakes. It's a bunch of those living out there, and then moved to the Midwest. We got tornado warnings.
You got to deal with snow and stuff around here.
How
are you driving in snow, by the way, too? You good with that?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, there was a couple times back in Oregon where we had some snow.
I guess you're right.
Some snowstorms and stuff like that, and that was my first time driving in snow. So, I was able to get a hang of it before I got here.
So, new defensive scheme. DeForest Buckner's on with us, Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, but really live in front of us. Night practice at Grand Park for the Colts later on tonight. How's the new scheme going with the new defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo?
Yeah, it's going really well. Talking to each and every individual on the defense, from all levels, we all love it. The new scheme, a lot of things that, obviously you got to grasp. There's a lot of terminology and some things that are foreign technique-wise to a bunch of us. But, I feel like the guys are doing a really good job of honing in and obviously having 2 feet and jumping into the system and really, owning it and making our own. And having Lou out there with us and, him coaching everything up and holding everybody to a high standard and making sure we all individually, uphold the standard, it's been well so far.
Do you watch old tape of what he was while in Cincinnati at all?
Yeah, we do. We watch a lot of obviously old Bengal film of their defense, and obviously some of the things schematically that they've been doing, and there's some adjustments here and there, but just watching all the old Bengal film and just seeing those guys fly around and make plays, it's exciting.
How much of this did you already know and understand it, and then how quickly does it take you to get in tune with it?
Yeah, I've played from time to time early in my career and in college, some of the things, the techniques that he wants us to do, especially up front. So it's not really too foreign to me, but obviously, I'm 8 years? Yeah. 8 years in an attack front scheme and doing the one technique for a long time. It's definitely an adjustment going back. But, once I'm able to, during the offseason, I really spend time really trying to, do what he's asking me to do, but also kind of implicating to my style of play.
Did he give you a checklist of things and how he wants you to work toward camp and then work toward the season?
It was really Charlie, our D-line coach. You know what I'm saying? Obviously we all up front, like I said, it's some different techniques than we're used to, and that was the challenge in the spring, and a lot of it was really just getting the plays down, you know what I'm saying, getting the scheme down, and we still were able to get coached up on technique, but didn't have a whole lot of time getting coached up on the technique. So now we can really hone in on the technique now that we understand the defense.
This is DeForest Buckner, who joins us now at night practice later on tonight. How's things look to you? You've been a part of this now for a long time, the veteran guy on this team.
Yeah.
Is there any difference between what you've seen in the first week of camp here to camps of recent history?
No, yeah. Obviously it's the competition. You know what I'm saying? And it's everywhere on the field, and I love it because, really competition brings out the best in all of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's competition on every, both sides of the ball, almost every level. And it's fun to watch. You know what I'm saying? You see the guys, competing each and every down, fighting for a spot, and that's what it's all about. That's what training camp's about. And that's what the year is about, bringing the best out of each other.
So a lot was made about your teammate right there along the line, Grover Stewart, and bringing down Jonathan Taylor a couple of days ago in camp. Is that a part of the competition that you're talking about right here? Would that go in that category?
Yeah, for sure. And that's the energy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The energy, you get caught up. You're, as the days are going, you're competing against each other, and I'm obviously, I would say Grove maybe blacked out for a quick second.
Did he really?
No, that's my perspective of the play. You know what I'm saying? He got excited, he blacked out for a second, and forgot it was JT for a little bit, and just being Grove, he got up and he was laughing, and it was funny because you just see both sides kind of get quiet, but at the same time, guys are like, especially on the offensive side, like, hey, we don't do that around here. You know what I mean? Like, got to take care of each other. And it would, my perspective, it would have been a little different. It was somebody else that threw JT down. It was just, Grove's a big man.
Yeah. So is that, you talk about the energy though?
Yeah.
That's still a form of energy. I don't see sometimes how you can ever get around it. Sometimes it's got to happen, and it happens naturally.
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes it happens naturally, and guys get caught up in the moment and little things like that. But that's what you want. You know what I'm saying? You're competing. Yeah. And we're preparing for the season, and it's all love on all sides. You know what I'm saying? You just, like I said, you get caught up in the moment in the middle of competition, and Grove made a great play right there.
Anything different that you've seen so far that you like, and you're still working toward as far as this team is concerned?
I would just say just the camaraderie of all things, you know what I'm saying, in the middle of all the competitions that's going on. It's not a me versus you mentality. It's a you versus yourself, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what a lot of the guys are really honing in, and I've been loving the intensity and the way everybody's been coming out and competing every day.
People talk about culture within teams and sports and how it's created. Are you a part of creating the culture here? Do you feel that?
Yeah, I would like to say I'm part of it, and just the way I handle my business, and the way I, just talk to the guys and, what we expect and little things like that, and pushing others, and bringing them alongside me, you know what I mean? I never want to be the guy in front, leading the way. I mean, I want to be standing next to you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I view myself as more of as a servant leader. You know what I mean? How can I help others and bringing them along?
So do you have somebody that's in front, or is everybody like you in that capacity?
Nah, I mean, there's a bunch of guys. Everybody leads in their own way.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And once we get guys to really have that leader mentality, I mean, you got to team full of leaders, and there's nothing that you can't do.
What do you expect out of your defense this year from what you've seen and the type of personnel that you have? Because, I've talked to Mooney and I've talked to Cam, and it seems like you got some guys of quality, high level we've yet to see a part of this team in that secondary. What do you think about that?
No, most definitely. I mean, I expect us to be a top 5 defense, you know what I mean, in the run and the pass. And, I mean, that's what I expect this year. Obviously, we took a big dip last year, obviously defensively, and I'm a part of that. And I really, there's definitely a scar from that. You know what I'm saying? And being the competitor that I am, I want to turn that narrative around.
How long does a disappointment like that hang with you?
I mean, it hangs for a while. You know what I'm saying?
Until you play again? Is it fair to say until you get out there and it's real again?
Definitely. You know what I mean? I got a big chip on my shoulder, and I know a lot of the guys in that locker room do, and we want to go out there and obviously put a product out there that our city will be proud of.
How was your off season?
It was great.
What'd you do? Anything new?
Yeah, and it was I just trained back in California, spent a lot of time with the family. So I mean it was fun.
So you live here. We have a common thread here. Scott Levy is a guy that does my landscaping.
Okay.
And he does your landscaping as well. In fact, they're at my house right now.
Okay,
that's awesome. He was walking through the other day, and he goes, "Hey, I was over. I think he had a conversation with you about it."
No, yeah.
And,
that's funny. I just sent them an email this morning.
Did you really? They that's Sundown Gardens. It's right down the road from where we are in Westfield, and he does my landscaping, and they are awesome because I don't know how to do it. Damn thing. Nothing. Zero. I mean, I mow my own yard, but I don't know how to do, the rock and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
But he said he had a meeting with you, and it was really cool. All right, what's some focus later on tonight? This first night practice to get you juiced up a little bit more than what the normal practice does?
No, there's going to be a lot of call-up periods, a lot of periods that aren't scripted and stuff like that. So, you'll really see, the play calling, and all those kind of things right then and there. So it'll be fun. There's a lot of competition that's going on out there. And if you're coming to practice, I mean, it's definitely one of the practices that you don't want to miss.
Have you noticed at all the quarterback play like everybody else is normal? Look at the quarterback play, or do you look at it differently from a team standpoint here? I'm curious.
No, I mean, like I've been saying, I mean, I feel like this open competition between the quarterbacks is going to really bring the best out of both of them. You know what I'm saying? Each and every day being locked in and coming out there and competing. And obviously, like any other guy around during training camp, you're going to have your good days, your bad days.
Yeah.
But you want to continue to stack those good days and build off the bad days. You know what I'm saying?
Does Anthony seem different to you at this point at all?
No, yeah, definitely. No. He's definitely locked in. He's really on his stuff, and he wants to be the guy. I had a conversation with him back in the spring, and he's ready to be the guy. He wants to be the guy. He's doing everything that he can to beat QB1, and obviously, and I've had conversations with Daniel as well, and they both see themselves as starters, and that's what you want in your quarterbacks, and whoever ends up winning the competition, the team's going to rally behind either of those guys.
Normally in football, that position is the ultimate alpha, the ultimate leader. But is it okay for a quarterback to look for leadership and guidance in other places, even though you play that position in the NFL?
100%. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't just depend on the quarterback to be the guy, to do everything, to lead the way each and every day. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he has a lot on his plate already. You know what I'm saying? That's why you need other leaders on the team. That's why you have not just one captain on the team. You have multiple. You know what I'm saying? You have guys that, like I said, we all lead in our own ways, and we have conversations with other guys in our position group, or even on the other side of the ball. It doesn't matter. We depend on each other to connect with certain people around. That you might not have a common thread with somebody, but one of the other leaders do.
Yeah.
And they can connect with that person, and steer them in the right direction.
It's funny. I think sometimes it's kind of viewed of, well, if you're the quarterback and you're looking for guidance, then maybe you're not the quarterback. But I think it's okay as long as everybody is pushing in that same direction. All
1,000%.
And it's just kind of weird how that is looked at. Hey, when you went to Oregon, would you have loved to be a part of the Big Ten?
Yeah,
as it is right now?
100%.
Yeah. So is this going to be the best Oregon team that we've seen in a while coming up this season?
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
I have a lot of I've been rooting for the Ducks, obviously, since I left. You know what I mean? I really want our Ducks. We've been so close each and every year to having that championship team. And, I think Coach Lanning will be able to put a great team together this year.
Did you go to any basketball games, Duck basketball games?
I did go to a couple basketball games while I was there.
Was it in Eugene or was I can't remember if they played. I'm assuming they played here on the road somewhere, right around.
I wasn't able to make any games this year on the road or anywhere, but I did go to the Big Ten championship game.
Oh yeah. Well, they beat IU, I think, in that first game, did they not? So in an afternoon affair.
I'm not talking about basketball. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking about. I consider you busy during football, but during basketball was what I was thinking about. Yeah.
We had a bye week.
You know what? You're right. You did have that bye week.
Yeah.
Hey, I was going to ask you, and DeForest Buckner joins us in closing. So I was talking hoop. Did you see any hoop games at all?
No, I didn't. I wasn't able to catch along. Yeah.
All right. So, you guys get to go to Germany and play Atlanta in Berlin.
Yep.
Is that exciting, or is there something where you'd rather take care of business here?
That's very exciting. I'm excited to go back out there. When we were out there a couple of years ago, the energy was amazing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they just, you just feed off of that energy. You know what I'm saying? And it just kind of reminded me of like when I played in the Super Bowl, just the energy of the Super Bowl, and it was just under that for me. It was just the intensity of the crowd. Them cheering. It didn't matter. It was the smallest play, big play. I mean, every play felt like a big play, so it was great.
Man, the energy of the Super Bowl, you're always going to have that itch, aren't you? I don't know how you ever – it probably doesn't feel right not to have been back there since.
No, definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's always my expectation every year, obviously since being so close. And, that's what really drives me to come in each and every day to go out there and put my best foot forward.
It's DeForest Buckner with us. Got a night practice with the Colts later on tonight for the first time at Grant Park in Westfield. Thank you, man. It's good talking to you. It's always a great conversation. Seriously, go see some hoops games. We'll talk a little bit of hoop.
Yeah,
next
for
time
sure.
Too.
Yeah,
Hey,
I have been watching. I've been to Pacer games. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm a big fan of the team concept, and everybody always kind of downplays the team role in the NBA.
Yeah.
That was the ultimate this past
1,000%.
year. That was fun as hell to watch.
that was basketball at its finest right there.
What games did you hit at the Fieldhouse?
This year I wasn't able to go to any games. Last year I went to a bunch of games. Yeah, I was just so busy with the family.
You watch them all. What was the best game that you watched? Pacer postseason. With the Halliburton bounced in three against the Knicks.
Yeah, the game one against the Knicks. That was amazing. That was unbelievable. Yeah.
I'm glad you're a basketball guy, man. That makes me feel good.
I grew up playing basketball.
Well, I mean you're too darn big not to be playing basketball right there. Were you a 3-point shooter or a pivot guy?
Yeah, I was a pivot guy. I was
not
a 3-point shooter. I was down low.
Rebound? Did you average more than 10 a game when you played?
Yeah,
there you go. Okay. DeForest, great to talk to you.
All right, thank you.
DeForest Buckner here with us. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Westfield's our location, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
I want you out in front of the school with her. I'd like to have a few words with you, by God.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
DeForest Buckner. DeForest Buckner and I both use the same landscapers at Sundown Gardens and Miss Emsholman Garden. How about that? We had James can attest to this during the break. We talked about landscaping during most of that break just now. So that's pretty funny, man. He is a good dude. Colts night practice coming up later on tonight here at Grant Park in Westfield, and joining us from Fox 59. They have not had me on 59 overtime, so they've probably only beaten Wish TV Channel 8 by about 65% without me the past 3 or so weeks. Chris Hagan of Fox 59 joins us.
When you just said he's a good dude, I thought that was the intro to me.
You are a good dude,
but
too.
Instead, you were talking about the other guy.
So has Wish closed the gap without me the past 3 weeks?
I think the gap is insurmountable at this point. It's 35-0 going into the fourth quarter. Actually, last week, we had the Brickyard. So we were jam-packed with stuff.
2 weeks ago, I was too drunk.
The past 2 weeks,
yeah.
I've been firing off some of the off days before Colts season gets going. So
did Phil tell you that I told him that he called me?
You told him. You said, "Hey man, I might need to tap out on this one."
Yeah. So
because you had tapped out on the tap.
I had tapped out on the tap.
Well, yeah, you have the legendary. I got to come down to one of the legendary pool parties.
Yes.
And I could see where you could the day could get away from you down there.
We are doing it again on Sunday, by the way.
All right then.
Again on Sunday. What'd you think about the Paradise Day Watson? It's awesome.
It was awesome. It was everything you think you would need was right there at your fingertips.
Yeah.
There was nothing else that you'd be like, oh, I wish we had this. You had the music. You had the beverages. You had a floating container of beverages.
There was a bounce house inflated there, too.
You had good company, good people to meet and talk to. And and I got to see you without a shirt on.
Yes.
Which was the highlight of the
Are
day.
you impressed with that now?
I was very impressed.
I think I've been working on my pecs. How are they coming along?
Well,
good.
Talk about that later. Here's the good thing is I'm a very pale person and I get sunburned, so I get to use the excuse that's why I'm wearing the long sleeve surfer
shirt. You did. You were covered head to toe.
Really, I just don't want anybody to see me without a shirt on. So I'm I get sunburned. This is just for health reasons. I've been told to do this. So,
I think you'd have been fine.
I'll get out there Labor Day weekend. Will be my next availability. What?
Oh, you're not available this Sunday, are you?
Well, I have a job, John. I work on Sundays.
Well, we'll do it again Labor Day weekend.
Try to keep your BAC under 0.9 in time for the recording our interview, and we'll do that.
I will do that. I'll
like
focus
seeing
on that.
You've lost so much weight, you've had to reinvent your wardrobe, which you hadn't done for like a decade. And every time I see you,
I know it.
You got on something new and cool there.
I know it. The Goodwill's been my friend. Especially, I'm going to go to the one in Westfield. I bet that's a treasure trove over there, the one in Westfield.
One time, Graham Rahal, who's awesome and fun guy to talk to, he tweeted one time. He goes, I don't know anybody who's going to be at the Goodwill and wherever it was, but it was somewhere he had just taken like a ton of clothes. And he was like, somebody's about to hit the jackpot here at this Goodwill. And he said the location. I forget where it was, but I just imagine there was somebody that just knows his height and weight and said, you know what, I'm about to go load up.
What have you seen so far up here? You've covered camp for Fox 59 here to this point. What do you like? What do you don't like?
The number one thing I was excited about was Braden Smith getting back, after dealing with some stuff. And what's interesting about it is I emceed his bowling tournament that he kind of took over from Jack Doyle. And he, even talking to him, he was always kind of shy, kind of withdrawn. And then when you see him come back, and the way he talked to everybody, that was the most open and honest as I've ever seen him be. So you can tell he's made a lot of strides, and you never know what people are going through in silence. But it was awesome to see him back and seeing him, speak out about what he was going through. So now maybe others will think, you know what, this big, strong, tough guy was going through this, and it's okay. I'm okay to not be okay, and there are people out there that want to help you. So that's been my favorite thing to see. And, of course, the thing everybody's wanting to see is who's going to be the QB.
Right. Shout out to Brett, who's over there right there. I haven't seen Brett live, local, and late breaking in a while. There's Whitlick's over there, too.
Brett's been busy working out. Whitlick has not been busy working out, as you can see from
Brett's pecs. I'm trying to work on my pecs. Look at that. He's getting them bouncing.
This is a PG show, Brett.
I know it is.
Knock that off. Hey,
So, who are your interns right here? Give them some love.
I forgot their names already.
Caleb?
We got Maria and Caleb.
Okay.
They're both out of Syracuse, but Maria went to Notre Dame and Caleb went to Ohio State, so they got in a fist fight on the first day when they came in.
Oh, my.
Caleb got his butt kicked. It was hilarious.
All right, 59 later on tonight. What?
You know what? Dan Spieler and Aaliyah Blackburn will be live out here at 10 o'clock, and then we'll have Dave Griffiths. We'll have a lot of coverage, and as always, sports overtime, 10:35 Sunday night. John, you'll be back in the mix on Sunday. I will. Looking forward to it.
Chris Hagan of Fox 59 is right there with us. Let us take a break. And one of his colleagues from Fox 59 and CBS 4, Mike Chappell, scheduled to join us. Coming up next, if you missed DeForest Buckner, podcast 1075thefan.com. Pat Boylan also was on the show. Kevin Lee. Jake Query started, too. That news regarding Penske Entertainment with IndyCar and Fox. We hit that a little bit earlier. The Fever, Midway, and obviously DeForest Buckner a moment ago. Podcast with each 1075thefan.com. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, where I am right now. You can check it out. And we're back with you next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
Sportos, motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. Colts camp, Westfield, and night practice. DeForest Buckner a little bit earlier on the show. He joined us live in this tent. 2 other times I will be here. Hey, James, is that Monday I'm going to be here?
Not this coming Monday, but I believe the week after.
All right, a week from Monday, and then back 2 weeks from today, in fact. So 2 more times we'll be up here at Grant Park in Westfield. Night practice later on tonight, and everything is a go. And I'm assuming that most outside of me will absolutely love the much cooler temperatures. DeForest Buckner a little bit earlier, Pat Boylan on the show, Kevin Lee. And now joining us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, we talked to a colleague of his moments ago, Chris Hagan. And Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. He joins us now. So I was talking to DeForest Buckner, and you could tell he still has an effect on how disappointed he was in what took place, especially with his own game defensively a year ago. Is that something you've noticed in the veterans' approach in the first week of camp out here, Mike?
I suppose it's hard to see, but of all the things wrong defensively last year, DeForest Buckner was way down the list of problems.
Those are his words, mine, by the way, too. Yeah,
but that's the high standard he carries himself to. He misses 5 games, has 6.5 sacks. He's good for 8 sacks a game, regardless. And he's the kind of player that Chris Ballard has and should build his roster, not defense, but the roster around. These guys accept nothing but excellence, and that's what you need. And he was the most outspoken of players about how disappointed he was in how his area, the defense, performed. He said it was the worst defense since he's been here, and that was since 2020. They need more. They need more of him and Quentin Nelson and people like that to hold everybody accountable. That's why they're captains, have been captains. So whenever your best players are your hardest workers and the ones who hold people accountable the most, that's what they really had in the 2000s with Peyton and all those guys. They need more of those, and they're hard to get. I mean, it's hard to get, a dozen guys like that, like the Colts had back in the day. But I have nothing but the highest regard for DeForest Buckner. If every draft I would trade a top, whatever he was, whatever that year was, a 13 or a 14 or a 12 or 11, and get a DeForest Buckner, I would do it every day. Because you're getting a guy that's Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. You go ahead and finish. I jumped in too quick.
Well, yeah, anytime you get a guy that's a proven player who's still young, was coming off a Super Bowl game where he dominated, I would do it. He's been one of the best moves that Ballard's made because it's a move that keeps on giving.
So Mike Chappell joins us. He had mentioned the creation with that effect in mind of competition with this team now more than ever, or now more than certainly since he has been here. Is that something you've noticed, more of an on-the-field competition than what we witnessed? Normally, this focuses around the quarterback position when we talk about this with this team right now, but he talks about it throughout this roster here in camp. Is that something you've seen?
Yeah, and that's what they need. It's a very, very deep defensive line with proven talent. I think they need to find someone that they can depend on to give Buck and to give Grover, the rest in a game they need, whether that's going to be Neville Gallimore or whomever. Because again, if you keep Buck and Grover to, I don't know what they normally play, 65, 70% maybe, and give them that spell they need. It just makes them better when it matters. And I think they've had trouble. Whenever Buck has been out of the game, and even Grover Stewart, people just run on him. People run up the gut with him, and until they get Zaire Franklin back, it's even more of a problem. And I don't know when they get Zaire back. Maybe tonight, probably not. Maybe next week. Maybe I don't know when. The longer he's out, the more it's not a good thing. But I have seen we've seen competition at corner with all those guys, and with Justin Wally and losing Jalen Jones for a while is going to hurt. Juju Brents, we don't know. I mean, every time you think he's finding his groove, something pops up, and now it's a hamstring. But it's been a really good competition in the secondary. Linebacker, yes, but you need Zaire back, and he and Jalen Carlisle to be the guys. And offensive line, here I go with the roster. Offensive lines competition, not necessarily on the outside, but interior with Tanner Bortolini and Danny Penner and Wesley French. You got to develop some depth inside. So it's been good to see. But again, you need your core players to step up. I just posted something on Fox 59 about Leatu Latu. They need him to step up this year. And there's every reason to believe he will. He didn't have a bad year last year. You just hope would get some more from him. But I think it's been a good camp from that regard. And they got to continue to make hay with Baltimore coming up, and then Green Bay with joint practices and preseason games, and we'll see where this team really looks like.
Now, he's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. That's Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. Night practice tonight here at Grant Park in Westfield with the Colts. And, of course, we'll talk about that coming up on tomorrow's show as well. We'll get to the quarterback battle coming up in just a minute. But outside of that major focus, what is going to be your focus in this night gathering tonight?
Oh, I'd like to see whether Juju's back, because he needs to play. Offensive line, and they've played pretty well. And what's really hard to get a gauge on is the running game, because the defensive line linebackers aren't allowed to really thump these. Well, they thump them, but you don't bring them to the ground. So it's really hard to tell what you're getting. Is the offensive line getting push? The crowd always goes crazy when Jonathan Taylor kind of squirts through the line and goes for 50 yards, and the defensive guy says, "Hey, I hit here." So that's always entertaining to see. And I want to see A.D. Mitchell continue to improve. He had a really subpar week last week. I think we've seen him kind of come out of it the last day or two, and they really need him to be that fourth guy to be the when Pitt goes out for a series, or Downs goes out for a series, or Pierce does, then Mitchell steps in and they don't lose much. And again, the first week he just didn't play well. Too many drops, had a fumble, but I thought he had a pretty good day yesterday and the day before. And then just again, people need to watch Tyler Warren. He's just a good player. You can never have too many good players. And keep in mind, he's like 6'5", 6'6". This is a big guy doing his things. So there's a lot to watch. They can maybe get a chance to watch the kicking duel between Spencer Schrader and the rookie Trejo. So there's always something going on, just as long as the rain stays away, please.
Where is your level of trust at kicker? You and I have had this conversation before, but now it does start to get certainly more real. And, like or loathe Matt Gay, inside 50 he was consistent, and, you lose perfect. That now. Yeah, right. Exactly. Now you have a complete unknown going into it. So should that make folks nervous?
It makes me nervous. I've always said that the two areas I don't think is good for competition in training camp is quarterback and field goal kicker. I want to know, of course, that's through the Manning years and Vinatieri until his last year. This is Spencer Schrader's job to lose. It is, And keep in mind, he's kicked 5 field goals and I think 6 PATs in the regular season. That's it. Now he's done all he's done all he can do, but he still hasn't kicked a 50-yarder in the regular season. I think he had a 54-yarder for the Colts in the preseason against Cincinnati. But no, I mean, yeah, you just I don't know. You can't have blind faith in somebody, but my level of concern is moderate because it's such a small sample size of what he's done. He had both kickers had a errant day when they kicked in team drills, and then Schrader came out. I think it was yesterday or the day before and went 6 for 6. And they've kicked. We've talked to Brian Mason. They've kicked into their areas when we don't see it and done well. So it needs to be Schrader. He's got a strong leg. He does have a strong leg, but we saw that from Matt Gay when he came here with a strong leg, and then it just sort of. The strength never was an issue. I mean, it's not like he was short. He was always bouncing off the uprights. When you go like 7 of 18 on 50-yarders after that 4 50-yarder day at Baltimore, you can't do that. You can't trust a guy. So they need Spencer Schrader to kind of step up and be the guy.
What's been your opinion on the quarterback matchup so far here in camp?
Well, first week they were neither one really did much to bolster optimism. Last 2 days in pads, they've both been pretty good. I've had Richardson 15 of 20 with 3 touchdowns in the red zone. I think Jones is like 11 of 15 or something along that line. I haven't got my notes in front of me. But they both did much, much better. And they both done almost perfect in 7-on-7, which you should be, let's be honest. So very encouraged with that. It needs to carry on. The problem with the quarterback competition is when we're out there watching it, it's day to day and really almost throw to throw. And that can be misleading. Again, last week, not very good. This week, really good. But they got to what Shane Steichen wants is consistency, day after day, no highs and lows. And it's hard to do that when you've only got 13 practices in training camp. It's really going to come down it's really going to come down how they perform in the preseason games. That has to carry so much more weight than practice. It just does because you got some angry guys playing against you. So I'm not wavering. I think it needs to be Richardson. I think if they made the decision today, it would be Richardson because he's not fallen on his face. He's not struggled that really badly, certainly lately. But the preseason games are going to matter a ton, as they should. And then we'll get some clarity on where this is.
You know this to be true because you and I have talked about this subject for such a long time now. I always have felt it was going to be Richardson because I think either Richardson would have to be stratospherically awful or Daniel Jones stratospherically awesome for there to be a different choice in week 1 in that capacity.
Yeah, that's how I was, and I sort of hedged it a little bit when Richardson missed the last 2 weeks of the off season with the sore shoulder. It's never a good thing when your quarterback has a sore shoulder. It isn't, but we've seen really no signs of that. He's probably cut back on some throws and individual work, but not a lot. So I think he's looked pretty good, and I just think they need to know. They need to find out what they have, and like I say, as long as he just isn't awful, that he's playing the position at the right level, he needs to be the guy. And you need to find out, number one, can he stay healthy? And number two, can he make the plays? Not only the dramatic plays, but the 3rd and 7s and pick up 3rd and 7 with a scramble or a design run. And the only way you know is by playing him. If he wins the job and he gets hurt in game 3, then you sort of know. You say, okay, what else do we need to see? And then you've got Jones. But to not know what you have with Anthony Richardson at the end of this season would just be I don't know how you move forward with that. So find out, and hopefully I hope he stays healthy. He's the number 4 pick. He's got so much talent, such a high ceiling, but only 15 starts. At some point, he's got to be the guy or not be the guy, and this is kind of that break point this season.
Yeah, you're going to love this because this is typical me, and this is something you really don't love. I'm kind of making a lot of myself right here, but you look at that week 1 against Miami, and it's like the football gods are begging for a Colts quarterback to have a great game and this team to get off to a great start, considering you've read the news about their secondary. It's all new, and some of the newness is injured. I mean, it's like that schedule's like begging for the Colts and their quarterback and their offense to do something in that week number 1. This is like a magnitude of all time must win out of the gate for me in week number 1.
It's like if not now, when? What's it been like 2013? I think it is against the Raiders. So yeah, and again, look at the schedule, doggone it. But when you get to Berlin, you've got like 7 or 8 games that, doggone, if you're any good, if you think you're going to be good and play well, you're off to a good start. Because after that, things get a little bit dicey with Kansas City and Houston and Houston twice and all that. So yeah, it is, and it's one of those that when you sort of watch from the outside and this team's getting this guy hurt, but it's like right now the Dolphins, their secondary is just ravaged. And what I want to see is how this team, when it starts playing games that matter, is how they treat Richardson. Go out there and play the way you play. And they got Jonathan Taylor, and I'm telling you, he's top 3 in the league. He just is. And they're going to ride him and DJ Giddens and those guys. And it's funny, people sometimes take JT for granted, and he had that fumble against Denver. Well, yeah, he did. Everybody messes up. His just came at an awful time. He is the NFL's active leading rusher per season. It's like 89 yards a game. And that's better than anybody, including Derrick Henry. So people need to understand that Jonathan Taylor, now, yes, he's deficient with pass protection and receiving, but as a runner, my goodness, he's as good as it gets. And to have him together, and if they can find a way to have he and Richardson kind of maximize together, which we really haven't seen a lot over a long period, it's going to be fun to see. But the opener, you're right, the opener, they're going to get tired. They're going to get tired of talking about, well, you haven't won in forever. Well, then win one. Win an opener. Win a game in Jacksonville, for crying out loud, and we'll quit talking about it. But until they do that, it's just a blemish that they've got, and they've got to start getting rid of these bad streaks, whether it's openers in Jacksonville, whatever. And Miami, again, it's a great time to have them. They're not, I've not heard a lot of Super Bowl talk from Miami at all. They're in a tough division. So, again, the schedule is conducive to a good start. Miami, Denver, it just is. I think is it 4 of the first 6 are at home. So, but yeah, Miami with the troubles they've had, and maybe the Colts have troubles injury-wise later on, but they've been outside of Jalen Jones, knock on wood, have had an uneventful camp in that regard. But doggone it, find a way to win the opener and get yourself off to a good start and see where it takes you.
Yeah, how much time does Jalen Jones miss? And there's another begging point here. It's like begging for some consistency and availability for Juju Brents to show what he can actually do.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if we will find out tonight whether Shane Steichen tells us, he's going to miss some time, or he's day-to-day, or he's week-to-week. Day-to-day is obviously the best. Week-to-week is not real good, and he's going to miss some time is not good. But Juju, doggone, local kid, second-round pick, with all the talent in the world. He looks like the kind of guy you want playing corner with his size. And as I remind people, he has missed more games than Anthony Richardson has. and we're all over AR about missing time. So hopefully he's not out much, because he talked to the media on Monday, I think it was, and then Tuesday he doesn't practice. So hopefully he's back in a hurry. He's one of those guys that needs to be out there. But when you got a sore hamstring, a pulled hamstring, whatever, you can't rush that. You rush that, and then you re-injure it, and then you're out longer. So, but hamstrings and groins can be, difficult things. Michael Pittman didn't finish Tuesday with a groin injury, and we don't know how serious that is. So we'll see tonight. Hopefully we'll get some kind of an update on those injuries from Coach later tonight.
Hey, final thing I want to run really quick with Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. I thought about this because there's been a lot of talk regarding Tyler Warren and it being multidimensional offensively and the uses Shane Steichen could get out of him in his rookie season. Is that all going to be camp talk, or do you think they seriously go deep into the bag of offensive tricks to utilize the rookie in many capacities coming up this season?
They're going to dip into the bag as deep as they can go. They are. I've seen no signs from Warren that things are too big for him. The pads go on, and he elevates his game. During red zone the other day, whether it was Monday or Tuesday, maybe it was Tuesday, one of the first plays was a shovel pass inside from like a 3-yard line to Warren. Now they didn't connect for timing and blocking and all that, but no, they're not gonna. I just don't see these guys spoon feeding or easing Warren in too much. He's just shown that he's up to it, and he's made some catches that are highlight. He's gotten to the point that he makes highlight plays. You say, okay, there's another one. You take it for granted, kind of like what you did with Marv and Reggie, where they make the tough plays look easy. That's when you know you're a pretty good player, is when at some point you no longer are surprised by the one-handed catches or the adjusting to receptions. You just make plays. I would be shocked if they try to say, well, let's take it easy. Let's not give this kid too much. I think they'll do whatever it takes, whenever it takes, to get him involved.
Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 will have your coverage coming up here later on this evening. The first night practice at Grand Park in Westfield. Looks like the rain is going to stay away. It's going to stay overcast and cool, so everybody's going to dig that. Mike's got your coverage up here.
Are you sticking around?
We'll flip a coin and see what happens. It is.
That's not very. Because I'll be up there. I'm sitting in the Grove right now, but I'll be up there watching practice.
No.
It sounds to me like I need to pass you on the interstate.
Well, I think I'm going to go hang out with Jimmy the Rooster for a little bit. We were hanging out earlier, but I've also been up here since 2:30. Actually, I've been up here. So,
and that's why I'm still in the Grove. I wasn't going to spend all day up there when I had a story to do, and then I can get up there at 7:30 and have something to eat. And so if I see you, I'll see you, bud.
You got it, man. Mike, I appreciate you as always. Thanks, buddy.
Be well.
Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day is coming up. Oh, look, there's Maria, the intern, is going to do a stand-up right now. Can I talk this up? Can I do play-by-play of Maria's stand-up? Yes. Hagen's doing the camera work, so you know that's going to be foobar. I think Maria and Caleb will be spectacular. Hagen's camera work. Hey, man, get your pinky out of the camera shot, dude. Come on, man. Quick one, we'll come back to Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day and a recap of what has been so fun today at Grand Park in Westfield. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Make sure you're a AAA member. You get great deals at Ruoff Home Mortgage Music Center. You also get great deals at Symphony on the Prairie. And with the Indians, that and more to become a AAA member. That's the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
Attention, whoever you are, this channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
Lady, do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Here is Hoosier Park Race of the Day coming up in a bit on this Thursday. Back in studio tomorrow. I'm watching Chris Hagan teach right now. I'm going to have a tutorial other than Hagan and Brett over there and Whitlick a little bit earlier. I don't know if I know anybody who's out here. I don't know the Wish dudes over there, what boys club that is. I don't know the 13 guys who are out there. I don't know them. I'm going to have a tutorial. A little bit of one right there. That's not, I mean, I guess that's kind of the changing of the guard, so to speak. I know a little bit more. But everybody will be out here, all the locals certainly, along with us at Grand Park here in Westfield. Yeah, I'd mentioned coming up tomorrow, we're back in studio. Next week's going to be fun, and we'll explain a little bit more in full detail. Coming up tomorrow, too. JMV Takeover Saturday night. The All Request Saturday night is from 6 until midnight on B105.7. As always, powered by Big Red Liquors. I should also tell you, because it was asked of me a little bit earlier, the JMV Takeover a week from tomorrow night. So next Saturday night, which is August the 8th, I believe, correct, right? Is that August the 8th? Am I right? Yeah, or the 9th. That's the 9th. I'm sorry. August the 9th. We will be at the Indiana State Fair. And I bring this up because I know Jake is going to open up the State Fair coming up tomorrow in the midday with Query and Company. And he is going to be staked out in the Dairy Bar. The milkshake of choice, what is that this year? James, do we know at the Indiana State Fair? Did I hear these guys talking about like a key lime milkshake?
I believe that is correct. I believe it is key lime.
See, if I were going to go with a milkshake, there's no way I can do key lime. I'm not down with the key lime. You?
I love
with
key
that
lime.
flavor?
I absolutely love key lime pie.
You said that you spent 6 years in Florida, so that would make sense, right? That's where key lime's the most popular, Florida?
The Florida Keys.
All right. Key lime is not anywhere near the top of my list, but yeah, the chocolate milkshake is always good. Jake's going to be coming up tomorrow at the Dairy Bar out at the Indiana State Fair to get things started, and then a week from Saturday I'll be out there inside the tap room doing the JMV Takeover on B105.7. So the tap room inside, or I should say inside the tap room at the Indiana State Fair coming up a week from Saturday. Another location show for you with B105.7 and the JMV Takeover. And for those that are wondering, in case you have not heard, the third annual Labor Day weekend bender at Mystic Waters Campground, we shall be there for you right off of I-69 in Pendleton with Brent Halverson as usual. We'll do the Friday show here from Mystic Waters Campground, and then the JMV Takeover All Request Saturday night from Mystic Waters Campground. It is the third annual Labor Day weekend bender, and it is not too far away, about a month away, in fact, now, to get that bad boy going here. As a part of the JMV Takeover, I know the clock is ticking. So many went back to school the past couple of days. I know you families are doing a little bit of scrambling with that in mind. So, yeah, the clock is ticking. And for some of you, if the kids have gone back to school and the routine has definitely changed, maybe the summer is already done, but we certainly have some highlights in the month of August and getting into Labor Day weekend for you, either here on the Fan or with B105.7. I should mention the whole agreement a little bit earlier between Penske Entertainment and the direction that they're going with Fox. We talked about that at length with Kevin Lee and with Jake Query a little bit earlier. The podcast with each 107.5, thefan.com. We also talked at length to DeForest Buckner of the Colts along the defensive line. Really good conversation with him. That podcast at 107.5, thefan.com. The Fever a winner over the Mercury of Phoenix last night. Pat Boylan joined us back in the 4 o'clock hour, too. All those podcasts at 1075thefan.com. And as always, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, where you need to be if you're not listed to 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Inside the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, becoming a AAA member just makes it so easy and so incredible for you. You know, beyond what you get with AAA having your back on the open road wherever you go 24/7, 365. But great deals at Ruoff, at Symphony on the Prairie with the Indians. That's with AAA, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. All right, you guys love this too. The Thursday edition, 50 in betting, 50 in dining. Courtesy of Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. That is in Anderson. The Thursday edition of the Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day is right now.
Bobby, I'm your white knight.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Hey, your Harris Hoosier Park Race of the Day winner, Jim Hudson. Rock My Memory was the winner. Paid out $5.80 on a $2 bet. $2 exacta went for $11.40. The 50-cent trifecta, $14.95. So Jim Hudson gets 50 in betting, 50 in dining, courtesy of Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. That is in Anderson, with horse racing going on now through the month of November. Hey, Tony Renz, by the way. Tony Renz, friend of the show. It is just about time for us to get back to Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson to have ourselves another fantastic afternoon. Harris Hoosier Park Race of the Day, your chance to win once again is coming up tomorrow. And all you have to do is we'll set the stage for you. You pick your horse at JMV 1070 is where you find that Tuesday through Friday. And you, like Jim Hudson, could win 50 in betting and 50 in dining, courtesy of Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. That is in Anderson, your Harris Hoosier Park Race of the Day. All right, later on tonight, you have the first night practice with the Colts. We documented that a little bit earlier with Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59, what to watch out for. And I want to get back to the point I made regarding Richardson and Jones and the whole quarterback battle. My point all along was it would take, and I know I have had the opinion that I feel that I have seen enough and know what we're going to find out or know what we already know. But I just think it's something to where it would have to be monumental one over the other in this quarterback competition to see Daniel Jones start in week one. Or I take that back. Either a monumental, a canyon-like difference, or a Richardson injury. I think it does come down to that, which is why you'll see Richardson in week number one. And when you look at, the Dolphins to start out, and you look at just how long it's been since the Colts have won that opener, there are a lot of benchmarks that aren't so good for this Colts team, and it does start right there. And I brought up the Dolphins because of their complete changeover, because of exodus or because of injury in that secondary. And, yeah, the situation is this offense has to have, in week number one, a step up against a team like that. We'll see how Miami ends up looking, and there's still a long way to go before that. But that's just the feeling that you get, knowing what you know right now regarding their secondary. And as you may have noted, you get the official start of the NFL season with the Hall of Fame game coming up later on tonight as well. So your final week is now passed. Now until February, you are going to get NFL football weekly. And as I mentioned before, normally in these preseason games, it goes, about a quarter where you're excited, if you are a little bit excited, and then your excitement does fade a little bit. That's probably what will take place in the Hall of Fame. It happens like that, unless it's your team that you're watching, for example. If it's your team that you're watching, then you really do care because you're into all the positional battles, or in this case, watching the quarterbacks here. But if you're watching the Chargers and the Lions later on tonight, that's probably going to fade, right? Literally in the first quarter, you're going, oh, man, it's back. That's great. And here's the conversation. And then, okay. Yeah, enough's enough. And then you're going to end up moving on. Now, it'll be different when the Colts are playing because you've got a little stake in that particular game. Afternoon baseball going on today, 7-4 right now. Yankees over the Rays as they are in the top of the seventh inning. The Braves and the Reds from Cincinnati coming up later on tonight. Braves having a massively disappointing season at 45-62. The Reds, meantime, 57-52. Reds coming off a win. Actually, the Reds and the Cubs both with a win. The Cubs yesterday afternoon in Milwaukee salvaged a game in that early week series. The Reds doing the same at home against the Dodgers last night, where you saw Ohtani go off with cramping early. But Spencer Steer, with the at-bat of the game, gave the Reds the lead for good, and the Reds beat the Dodgers last night in Cincinnati. 7-10 for the Reds and the Braves coming up later on this evening. And to my knowledge, I believe there's only one other game in Major League Baseball. I saw the Mariners make a major deal with Suarez, the power hitter again. Long time ago, it seems now, the former Reds third baseman. Mariners and Rangers tonight at 9:40 from Seattle. That is a very slight, if you will, Major League Baseball schedule. We talked up the fever that went over the Mercury last night, and the evening, and especially late, the impressive evening that Aaliyah Boston had. And it was my thought with Pat Boylan, the voice of the Fever, a little bit earlier, that they so much need more, even upon the return of Caitlin Clark, so much more of that level of being a dominant performer. And you could see last night when she really got going late, she became more or less dominant, I felt, on both ends. She can be that good and consistently that good. And I think you're going to see that even upon the return of Caitlin Clark, where Caitlin Clark's going to be incredibly ball dominant, as we well know. I think even upon her return, you can certainly look for that, or should want to see that, or I would suggest expect to see that. And also with Pat, we talked about Sophie Cunningham. And the one thing about Sophie Cunningham is, for the most part, she is talked about as a social media presence. But with this team, she has become high-level important to her success. And you saw that again last night. The Fever and Dallas next up for the Fever on the road. Jim McCann of Southern California chimes in with this. Mike Chappell just said the people need to realize how great Jonathan Taylor is. It's Shane Steichen that needs to remember JT and have him on the field when the game is on the line. It's interesting, too. You get back to last year, and obviously, the dominant thought with Jonathan Taylor was that situation, dropping the football before he crossed the goal line in Denver, which obviously had huge implications for how the rest of the season has gone. But what Mike is saying, too, Jim, is also accurate, that if you're going to look for arguably the best player on that team, I think it still is with Jonathan Taylor. They're on both sides of the football. And we'll certainly see how that ends up going. You know, a lot is going to be made, certainly, of the quarterback battle later on tonight. If you're coming out here to watch this night practice, again, no rain as of right now, so that's a good thing. As Mike and I talked about, you can watch the whole place kickers. We talked to DeForest Buckner a little bit earlier. That defense is interesting, because we talked about, the change in scheme and terminology that he has gone through as a veteran with this team, from that of Gus Bradley to now Lou Anarumo. But I had talked about prior to coming out here today, the focus that's going on in the secondary and what you get with Mooney and what you get with Bynum. You already have Kenny Moore, that to be true, and you're still searching on the other side. That injury to Jones kind of clouds things, and you're hoping that maybe some consistent health and availability from Juju Brents is something that you can get used to, you can get to know. But we have yet to see that. Cam Bynum coming in for a huge free agent deal. Already having Nick Cross right there, whom we talked to last week. This is a secondary with a heavy playmaking ability lean, and we discussed that with DeForest Buckner a little bit earlier. But he also made note of how disappointed he was in his play last year and how focused he is to changing that up and making those along that line. We talked about he and Grover Stewart, but also a little bit about Leatu Latu and how Leatu Latu comes along as a second-year player and how important it is to up his game with consistency getting after the quarterback. If you missed that conversation with DeForest Buckner, the podcast at 1075thefan.com. Dev, great job out of you. Appreciate that. Shout out to Matt Conti for bringing DeForest Buckner over here a little bit earlier. That podcast is up. You can check it out. Pat Boylan, voice of the Fever a little bit earlier. Kevin Lee was on this show as well. The deal between Fox and Penske. That conversation we had as well. There is Lara. Hi, Lara. I'm closing, too. We're closing up shop right here. Good to see you, girl. Colts night practice later on tonight. Shout at Lara for us. Would you as well? Back in studio. We are tomorrow at 3. Have a great night.